Hello everybody, Andy here from Glass Half Dead, the #1 Kill Team channel on YouTube. That's of course you're aware of literally any other channel on YouTube. So today a cool model is being released, which means a lot to me because it's one of the few book series that I have read, similar to Gaunt's Ghosts, except a slightly different take on it. In case you don't know, it's Commissar Cain. This is his first ever model that's going to be made of him, which is super cool. He gets him and he gets his little adjunct, Jurgen, which interestingly is being released alongside the made-to-order Valhallans. They probably should have timed this a little bit better, but you could link that all up and have some good fun with that if you wanted. And I thought something that's quite cool is, if you scroll down a little bit further, you can see that you can build them like this, two dudes, or you can build them as a little diorama base with them back to back, facing off the hordes, or more likely Jurgen meltering whoever after making a nice cup of refreshing tanner as Cain just kind of looks into the middle distance. In case you don't know, For the Emperor is a fun little romp through 40k. To me, they are some of the best 40k books out there. I don't think you should chain read the entire series. I'm going to throw that out there. I think that Gaunt's Ghosts, for me personally, is better as a series. However, if I had to sit down and read one book in between other books, it would be the Cain books as opposed to a Gaunt's Ghost book. But if I was just going to sit down and like, I want to get really invested in the entire series, then I would indeed go with Gaunt's Ghosts instead. But they're very similar to me. I tend to just like military sci-fi in general, and they're quite fun. For the Emperor, Cain is based on, well, not based on, sorry. It is in the vein of the Flashman series from like the 19 whatevers. And in case you don't know what that is, I recently actually went back and read the first one ever of Flashman, and to be clear, I would rather read this than Flashman, let's just say that. Basically, it's a military cad that is a coward and runs away from every possible threat, but in doing so, accidentally, completely, not as he wants to happen, ends up in the thick of it and having to fight his way out, and accidentally being misappropriated as being the tactical genius hero for finding out that orc route that was going to destroy the entire Imperial army. But he knew it was coming, and that's why he ran straight into their horde instead of, you know, being flanked by them, and that saved the army. There you go. That's every single book they do. They've got Necrons, Orcs, Tau, I believe, Tyranids. They go into all the Xenos. I'm sure they have done Chaos as well, but in general, they're fighting, you know, some nice nameless villains, and it's all about him and what he has to deal with among his regiment, which tends to most typically be the Valhallans. And there you go. So that's amusing. I enjoy that. That's a fun little thing that they've done. Now, he comes to Kill Team. But of course, before we get to discussing what I'm about to discuss, which would of course be not that, here we go. I'm going to have a look at the Nemesis custom builder and how can we build Cain for Kill Team. I would of course like to give a big subscriber only benefit, and that is a gigantic double hello. Wow, so wholesome, truly the wholesomeness knows no bounds to the world of Glass Half Dead. Please use my affiliate links, give me a kickback, cost you nothing extra. If you don't like me, go and check out, use your affiliate link of your favorite YouTuber, we all have them. I also have a bunch of affiliate links, you get money off if you use these. Crossfire, GG Easy, Broken Token, I've got all of these, you get 5 to 10% off. So if you're buying stuff, use them. Yeah, cool. All right, let's get, not this, we want to get down to this, the other camera angle. Boom, here we go. So let's start simple, shall we? We're using our Nemesis custom builder. I thought this would be a little bit of fun. That's a cool piece of artwork, isn't it? I thought this would be a little bit of fun to just show you what the Nemesis custom builder can do if you want to do it. It doesn't have to be you taking the big toys from 40k. You can do anything. You can make, you can do it. It doesn't even have to be me talking about this, this diorama based. You can do it using Commissar Gaunt, right? As long as it's a Commissar, you can make it work, basically. So first things first, considering the scale, I think this should be a small model, and I think that's totally fine. It's gonna, you know, it's 35 wounds. That seems relatively appropriate for 2 heroes of the Imperium. They get 2 weapons, etc., etc. Now, I would also say, if you are unsure of how the kill team system works, sticking with this book makes total sense, but don't be too rigid about things. If we've got 2 guys on here, and we see that small bases get 2 weapons, but actually we want to give a 3rd, I don't think that's going to be a big deal, if I'm honest with you. Also, it won't necessarily get used too much. And we can discuss that very quickly. So, obviously, we're going to use a melter gun down at the bottom here. This is just a melter gun. It doesn't get upgraded in any way because it's a Nemesis gun. And then I think it's only fair that we also give them a chain weapon, because obviously that is what they are actually modelled with. That's our WYSIWYG, okay? This is a great chain weapon, by the way. 4 lights hitting on 3s, 5, 6 brutal rending. Super appropriate for for Cain. Really like it. Very cool. He's now one of the strongest melee operatives in the game. Excellent. However, you could then consider, do we want to give him the option of what he's also, you know, holstered with, a las pistol? Well, there is no las pistol on here. So you then got options. You could say, you know, you have a bit of fun with it. Say, actually, we're going to make it a las cannon. That's a las, you know, he's just got a really good las pistol. He's a great shot, and that's why his las pistol becomes a las cannon. If you really want to stick with this book, I'd probably say, you know, just go ahead and make it a normal las pistol. We all know what a las pistol is. It's crap. So make it a hot shot las pistol. You could probably make it a relic hot shot las pistol, which would mean it would be 4 dice hitting on 3s, 3, 4 damage, lethal 5. There you go. So, you know, nothing crazy, but it's there. Although you then have to ask the question of, but if he's got that by the book, you can't shoot twice, I think. Maybe you can. Maybe you can. But I think it's totally fair to say with the Neo-Op that you can shoot and fight twice. That'd be weird if you couldn't. I'm sure that must be a rule, in fact. We then have a Nemesis trait to give them. Now, it does say here that for every weapon slot you don't give them, select an additional Nemesis trait. We used all of our Nemesis slots. We even discussed giving him an extra. But I think the best one for these guys is close range lethality. I think that makes a lot of sense. Kind of plays into the fact that the way I imagine it, the way I envision it going, is Cain stood there too busy kind of posing for the picked feeds as he's kind of hand-waved Jurgen, deal with them for me kind of thing. And that's why, you know, he's got the melter, so you're now giving a melter lethal 5 when they're within 8, which they're always within 8. And yeah, that's going to be a nice lethal 5 melter for you. Very good. However, I think there's an additional thing here, which is how should you run them? Should they be their own team? No, I don't think so. I think this is the perfect team to run with another team. So what would that team be? Well, my head is covering it. So here we go. I think that they should be part of a team. They're a small base. So we look at the small section and we would decide the team that we want. If we're thinking Krieg, because Krieg are the most normal Imperial Guardsmen, I feel. So you would look at the 14, and then instead of taking 14, basically they cost 5 units. And then you would run Cain, Jurgen on their small base, their diorama base, and 9 other dudes. Cool, I like that. Perhaps you wouldn't take the leader, because Cain is obviously the leader now. Perhaps. That's fun for fun for the whole family. However, you know, I think it's fair to say that Krieg would quite easily swap in for the new, the Valhallans, not the Valhallans. Oh, I've said the wrong thing, haven't I? Anyway, the made-to-order Valhallans. They weren't Valhallans, were they? Guys, I've been smoking crack this whole time. It wasn't Valhallans. It was the Russian guys. I'm going to move on from that. You know what? You've already left a comment correcting me. Thank you for engaging with my content. But I figured it out now, so we're there. Anyway, I think they'd be a good option to, you know, look nice and classic as Cain. You know, I mean, this book's 20 years old now. And that would work as kind of a proxy for Krieg. However, I think it would also be very fair to say that, you know, his boy's got to level up and you could put him alongside the Kassakin. Probably not so much the Aquilons. They're a little bit more specialist, and Cain's never really worked alongside hot drop troops. He doesn't have the constitution for that. But Kassakin, I think, would make a lot of sense. And so therefore you would look at the 10, because there are 10 Kassakins in the Kassakin team, and then you're taking him, so you would only then take 7 Kassakin, which I think is actually a really good trade. Swap out the leader, or keep the leader, I don't care. And that would be your team. So you'd run 7 Kassakin. Also, because, to be clear, if you can't get hold of whatever the new MTOs are, the Krieg you can't actually buy anymore. You can convert them, obviously, but Kassakin are a touch more generic in the sense of Krieg are a specific thing, whereas Kassakin are potentially everywhere, even though they're Cadian. You know, Cadians are everywhere, and again, there's no reference, as far as I'm aware, of Cain working with the Kriegs. Maybe there is, though. That feels like a thing he would have met, or at least they would have been on the same battlefield at some point. So, hey, it's Warhammer. He's done everything and anything you ever wanted to do, so it's fine. But I think that Kassakin actually fit him a little bit better, if I'm honest, because they're so generic. You know, whereas Krieg is quite a defined theme. I think the generic Kassakin would be pretty good. And you know what? I'll take 7 Kassakin over 9 Krieg any day. So that's a really weird difference there. And that is my idea. There you go. That's me using the new Nemesis Operatives book to take a new cool model that you want to play with and putting it into Kill Team, even though it's not some new big boss or new dreadnought. You can do anything. You can do exactly the same with just a standard unit. Obviously, everyone's already said, oh, I could do it with Guilliman or something. But I think you just make any model a bit of fun. Obviously, if you're the Eldar, a classic one there would be not a Harlequin, a Solitaire. You know, like, just make them an absolute beast. Be really good fun. I actually think these rules work quite well for a Solitaire. For everything else, you kind of have to, you know, make them work. Like, I don't think these rules work brilliantly for Cain and Jurgen, but they're fine. They're due. But I think they're actually almost spot on for what a Solitaire should be. That's quite cool. Anyway, if you've watched this video till the end, I would like to give you a big triple hello. Well, so wholesome. Do consider using my affiliate links. That'd be awesome of you. Thank you so much. If you do, if you're wholesome as like I am, and I will see you tomorrow with the battle reports on this channel. I think it's going to be my long-awaited Spectres into Raveners. It's either going to be tomorrow or Wednesday. We'll see how I feel about it. I don't know. So I will see you then. Thank you and goodbye.